Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, GCU students and alumni. Welcome to episode 21 of the Designing with Love podcast. In this episode, I will cover how to effectively use images, icons, and infographics as visual aids when designing learning materials for your instructional solutions. In addition, I will provide some ideas for how you can utilize AI-generated technology to help you create visual aids when needed. First, I will provide some tips on how to effectively use images for your instructional solutions. The main thing to keep in mind is that an image is only effective if it is relevant to the content you are presenting. Many times over the years, I have seen images accompany an online training course that did not relate to the content being presented. I'm sure as learners in the past you have experienced this as well. Unfortunately, this can leave your learners confused and wondering what the message is that is trying to be conveyed. According to the Digital Learning Institute, select relevant and meaningful images that align with the instructional content. Remember, one of the principles from Mayer's 12 Principles of Multimedia Learning, which is the image principle, suggests that including high-quality, complementary visuals can often be more effective than using text and having a speaker's image. Next, I will provide some tips on how to effectively use icons for your instructional solutions. When icons are used properly along with text, they can help learners connect ideas and concepts better than simply having text alone. For example, if you are building an online training course for employees at an organization about how to effectively communicate with others, you can use icons to represent each of the tips. Then, as you reference the tips in different parts of the training course, you can use the icon without having to use the text because the learner will already be familiar with the icon and what it represents. Remember, one of the principles from Mayer's 12 Principles of Multimedia Learning, which is the modality principle, states that learners experience deeper learning from visuals and spoken words than text and visuals. Don't worry though, you can still include text on the screen, but you want to ensure there is balance because too much text can overwhelm the learners and cause cognitive load. This is why icons can be such an effective method for getting the message across. I wanted to share a great icon tool that I use on a regular basis called Noun Project. I will put it in the show notes if you want to check them out. Their pricing structure is reasonable, and there's millions of icons you can search for and use. The possibilities are pretty much endless. What's great about using Noun Project to create icons is that you can change the color, background, and shape of the icon with ease. Also, when you download the icon image, you have several size and image options to choose from to meet your needs. I can honestly say I've been using Noun Project for about 2 years or so, both at the professional level and academic level. So I use it for professional development and training purposes at the company I work with, and I've also used it with the classes I teach. So if you have seen on the class websites different icons, then that's where I ended up creating them from, was Noun Project. So I would highly recommend using Noun Project, especially if you're looking for an easy solution and something that you can utilize that will give you that professional look. It's especially helpful if you're considering doing freelancing work or something like that, where you know you need to have a professional tool available to you. Now I will provide some tips on how to effectively create and use infographics for your instructional solutions. As many of my listeners know, infographics can be used as an effective method to reinforce concepts and provide an option for the learners to reference the content at any time once the initial training has concluded. The key to effectively using infographics is to keep them short in length, ideally between 1 to 2 pages and no more. This helps to ensure that you are not overwhelming the learner with too much information. As the saying goes, keep it short and sweet, right? Another tip for creating effective infographics is to keep the information, including text and visuals, to a minimum. Again, by having too much information on the infographic, this will also overwhelm your learners. We need to ensure that we follow Mayer's 12 principles of multimedia learning when creating infographics as well, which includes referencing the multimedia, coherence, and special continuity principles. One tool that I love using, in addition to Canva, is a cool tool called Genially. So if you haven't heard of Genially, it's an interactive type of visual tool. So if you're finding that you're using a tool like Genially or PictoChart and you're having a hard time keeping the information simple and keeping it at a minimum, then I would recommend checking out Genially, because you can do interactive infographics. So you can keep the information at a minimum, but then provide interactive options such as a plus sign where it can have a screen that can pop up, or a tooltip or something like that. And so it gives the opportunity for the learners to interact with the infographic. And also you can include video. It's a great tool. So for those students that have been in my classes before, if you are familiar with the welcome infographic that I include in my introduction in all the classes that I teach, that welcome infographic was created in Genially. So there's those little plus signs where you can learn more and you can click on that. So it's really great to be able to have those interactive components where you feel like you can still get the information across, but you're not overwhelming your learner. It takes the information and still chunks it for them, and it gives them bite-sized information. So you might want to consider that in the future if that's something that you want to look into. Genially does have free plans, and then they also have a EDU Pro account as well, which is at a great price point. So if it's something that your organization or your school does not cover for some reason and you want to be able to invest in something like that, you can certainly do that. And especially if you're going to be freelancing or doing something like that on the side, it might be helpful to have a tool like that as well at your disposal. Finally, when it comes to creating effective infographics, make sure to follow good visual design principles. You should use complementary colors on the infographic that help to enhance and complement the content. For example, you do not want to use red and yellow together because those colors do not complement each other well. I don't know about you, but I have seen instances where I've seen images or infographics that have used red and yellow together, and it is not a pleasant experience. We also have to think about learners that may have visual impairments. For example, you may have a learner that is colorblind, or you may have a learner that has other types of visual impairments. For example, myself, I have the onset of glaucoma, and so I have sensitivity to certain colors and to light. So for me to see bright yellow or bright pink or stark white on a screen or something like that, or two really bright colors together, it's not good for me. And it actually, I can't even read what's on there because it actually causes my eyes to hurt, and I have to look away. I can't even do that. And then if you have a student that's colorblind, if you have two colors that are too close together, they may not be able to tell the difference between the two. So that's something to also keep in mind. To find colors that complement each other on the color wheel, there are online tools, which is great, that are available through companies such as Canva, where you can pick your primary color, and then the online tool will select the best complementary color for you. So it takes the guesswork out of it, which is wonderful. And I love this tool. These combinations of colors are based on color theory. That is a combination of art and science that is used to determine what colors look good together. I have included a link to the color wheel tool in the show notes for you. So make sure to check it out and bookmark the site so you can keep it handy for when you need to use it. because I'm sure you will use it multiple times. I know I have. Lastly, I will briefly cover how to incorporate AI technology when creating images, icons, and infographics. As many of my listeners know, many online tools such as Canva, Genially, and Pictochart can be used to create these type of assets for instructional solutions, and they contain AI-generated technology. For example, in Canva, you can use DALL-E to generate images from just a few words that you type into the tool. Keep in mind that you need to have a pro account to use many of the AI features such as DALL-E. However, if your organization or school district offers a pro plan for you, then this can benefit you greatly. If not, you can subscribe to a pro plan as an individual at a low price point. Again, as I mentioned earlier with the Genially tool, if you don't have access to use the tool through your organization or through your school district, and you're considering doing freelancing, again, Canva might be a really great tool to invest in for that, because I can tell you from personal experience from teaching the classes that I teach, and just for other types of projects that I've worked on, that my Canva Pro subscription has paid for itself a million times over. So it's a great tool for sure to be able to have that as well. So just keep that in mind if you're considering that. When you decide to incorporate AI technology into your instructional solution with AI-generated images, icons, and text, it is always a best practice to be cautious about how this technology is integrated into your instructional solution. As instructional designers, we always want to uphold the highest ethical standards and ensure that the generated content adds value to the learning. So we want to be able to use the AI technology when it's needed, but the thing we don't want to do is rely on it too much. That's one thing that I want to make sure as an instructional designer and even as an instructor at GCU, that I'm not utilizing it too much and it's taking away from my creativity or anything like that. Now, if I do use the technology, I make sure that it's not something that I'm just utilizing and then putting into content without having someone vet it. So within the organization that I work for, and even within my department, we have something called the first draft principle. So what that means is that you're taking something from AI technology as a starting point and as a way to generate ideas. And then you're taking that and bringing that to your subject matter experts and even to the stakeholders. And you're saying, can you take a look at this and see what kind of changes need to be made? And how does this work with the curriculum or the instructional solution? And then that way you're not utilizing just the AI technology and what it produces, but you're actually incorporating that human element as well. That's important as well. So something to keep in mind. And I'm sure that within your organization or your school district, that's something that is talked about quite often, is being able to ensure that AI technology is used ethically and it's used with integrity. And GCU also has that in mind as well. So there are tools available with that. So make sure to check that out. If you need help on that, just let me know, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction when it comes to the AI technology, because I know it can be a little overwhelming at first, and it might be where you're not sure where to go or how to incorporate it. And I have had questions come up before in other classes that I've taught. So just let me know, and I'd be happy to be a good resource for you and point you in the right direction. I hope you have found this information about how to incorporate visual aids into your learning materials helpful. As a recap, this episode covered how to effectively use images, icons, and infographics as visual aids when designing learning materials, along with how to leverage AI-generated technology when needed. As I conclude this episode, I would like to share the following quote from Dale Ludwig. "Well-designed visuals do more than provide information. They bring order to the conversation." Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. please take a moment to like the episode and share it with others so they can learn about this topic as well. Have a great day.